Hey guys, it's Bill, GhostRunner69 on Instagram. Want to introduce you here real quick to my Axial Racing SCX-10 from Horizon Hobbies. This is one of 750 pre-production models that they released. So this truck was actually built in the factory. They told me I could do whatever I want with it. So that's exactly what I did. As most of you know, I'm not a Lexan guy, so one of the first things I wanted to do was switch out and get away from that Lexan body, and I put a JK Jeep hard body on it. Hey guys, we're going to move back into the shop now and take a little better look at this rig. The body mounted pretty well, a little bit of trimming to the body, a little bit of trimming to the chassis. One of the super cool things is I was able to use the existing body mounts. Here in the front you can see the radiator. We're going to flip it around here. You can see the license plate holder. That's the existing body mounts. The hard body mounted right up makes that super easy to do. Alright, so the other thing that's really important to me is the installation of the battery and removal of the battery from the rig without having to take the body off, without having to take a bunch of screws off. So if you remember back to a build I did a couple years ago, Foghorn Leghorn, I used a little stretchy cord system. Did the same thing here. The cooler slides out, the seat pops out, and voila, right there is where the battery goes. Real simple. You can do it with one hand. It's much easier to do it with two. But again, real simple. The body doesn't have to come off. Everything fits right there. So you put your RRW Slingshot battery in. Make sure it's facing the right way. You get the cables and all and everything hooked up here, and it comes right back. You hook your lights in if you're running the lights this way off your balance plug, which I do. Makes it a little simpler for me. You hook up your power supply. You take your finger, you make a little adjustment to the battery placement until you get your seat back in, and voila, your battery's in. You didn't have to take your whole body off. You didn't have to lose any clips. You didn't have to do any of that. You didn't have to turn the truck over. You didn't have to get all muddy down underneath or whatever you're playing in. Just a real simple, and it's always a big thing for me is getting batteries in and out of trucks easier. Especially I do some of the endurance things like the Recon G6 Fix. It's real important for me to be able to get that battery in and out and pretty clean. Seat goes back in, hits the two little plugs up front. Like I said, you got to take your fingers, move the battery a little bit in case it's settled, pull your cooler back, and bam, you're in business. All right, so we're almost ready to go outside and play. I want to show you the inside first, but first, before that, hey, the rear lights, Team Associated light kit in the rear, with the light bodies that came on the JK, it's bright enough you're going to be able to see it. Up front I did a little something different, and I don't think I did any in this video, but I'm running the Pitbull pod lights up front. They've been trimmed a little bit to fit the headlights, and then they're behind the axial screens there. But again, another look. Got some seat backs, just some other, got a little rifle in there, got some soda cans, got fire extinguisher, pull rope, cooler, med kit, jack, shovel, all that. Roll bar, jack is up there on the roll bar, rear view mirror, a little bit of interior work, and hey, we're ready to show you the inside. Engine bay is still intact, body mounts are still intact, new shocks, fender wells are still intact, a little bit of trimming there. Hobbywing Axe Pro 2300 kV system, smooth, dependable, reliable, waterproof power, lug by lug crawling, and enough wheel speed to churn up the dirt. Shocks, I went with 100 millimeter droop setup, yeah, racing. Here you can see the Dig and the 2-speed, both Reefs Micro 99s. Did a little trimming with the servo horn, but again, dependable units. They're a little rough to fit in there because all the little micro servos didn't fit the same. But again, they work, function properly as they should. Spectrum, I run my receiver upside down. We got the Reefs Raw 500 up front for the steering. All right, guys, we're outside to play now. Let me get my first rollover out of the way. I'm going to do it right here for you. Kept the stock tires on this rig, wanted to see what they were capable of. Threw some CI foams in there, wrapped them around some Boom Racing bead locks. Watch them glimmer here in the sun. Look at that shine and shimmer. That's pretty fancy. Anyway, tough transition here. My first attempt at it with this truck. Let the droop settle in, and it's real tough. That top of that roll cage is pretty heavy, and it just sucked me right over. Anyway, a little different approach to it, and we're going to see some success here. You can see Dwight in there. Boy, Dwight's got a brand new ride. If you remember from 2019, he was the pilot of Wicked, my endurance truck for 2019. He had a little problem with the Red Bulls, so we got him some therapy, got him some help, and he's back in here and he's wheeling the brand new Axial SCX 10.3. You're going to watch the transition here. Watch the droop settle, see it expand. Watch the droop settle. I'm a little more patient with it. And we're going to go ahead and clear this line here. All right, as we finish watching Dwight here, as he's pointing to the sun, finish this line here. Dark Side 3D, that's their cooler in the back. A lot of their accessories on this rig, scale items, super great. 3D printer up out of Pennsylvania. Does a really good job, thinks out his products. I told him what dimensions I needed on the cooler. He set it up, got me whatever color I wanted, and that cooler is the anchor point for the stretchy part of the battery tray. You're going to see the truck here going up over a couple of just tree roots, about 3, 4, maybe 5 inches, I guess, a couple of them. Good balance on the truck, even with that heavy top roll cage. Again, the 100mm shocks give it plenty of room to clear all the components guys have been having problems with up front, breaking the little steering Pitman arm brace off, this and that and the other. Mine at max steering, I got it adjusted almost perfectly. It doesn't even touch the plastic component. I do have an aluminum one just in case. But real good balance on the truck. Was really surprised. Needs a little bit more time breaking the tires in, and we're gonna, get it around out here on these roots, and that tears that rubber up pretty good and gets it broken in. But real nice balance. The portals, I need a little bit more weight in the front, and you'll see some of that later on in some more of the video. But the pit bull lights up front, they're shining. Look at the approach angle here. I don't know exactly what it is, but that's a real nice in here. The bottom gets hung up, and the other thing that was getting hung up on some of these high over clearances was the actual bottom rung of the body. It sticks out just a little bit below the skid, so at some point I'm probably going to trim that lower line off just to give it another maybe eighth, quarter of an inch of clearance on the body. Kept the fender wells intact. A little bit of trimming helps you keep from seeing all the way through from wheel to wheel. But you're going to watch Dwight. He's going to get up and over this piece, and then we're going to change the line and come back and go up over the next little piece. All right, the next little obstacle you're going to see Dwight tackle here is just a little step up. It's an obstacle probably 3 inches tall, maybe separated by about 10 or 11 inches to another little step up about the same size. Pretty common. You see them all over the place, whether it's root, rocks, wood, whatever it is. Gets hung up here a little bit, little skinny trigger, and we're going to pop right up there. The tires grab in nice, and we're up and over that obstacle. We're going to come around to the front here, and you're going to see how that droop setup really works. That front end is now dropped out. It's down there finding something stable to get on. A little bit of shimmy here from the raw 500, and we're right down in the perfect line headed to the next obstacle. All right, we're off to that transition that I showed you guys earlier, and I actually fall off here at the end. But what I want to show you is the Reefs RC servo. That's the raw 500 up front. Look at the responsiveness, how fast, and it's just fast. It's a super fast crawling servo, and the wheels or the tires dig into that root bark here, so I don't get the drop and the shakedown that I want, but the responsiveness is on point. All right, another one of my nice little ups here. My camera had died, so I didn't get the actual up onto this section, but just watch the truck work here a little bit. Nice, slow, a little bit of wheel bump here and there. We get up and over, take a little reverse here, but then you're going to see the steering angle on this truck. And again, mine's not set up to anything special. It's set up just, it was built out of the factory. I didn't do any adjustment here, but and you can see just a little bit of room there between the plastic Pitman arm mount and where my servo horns, and that's max turn. It's not even, I mean, there's a micro millimeter or so in there, but it's not touching, it's not putting any additional pressure on that piece. So I don't think it's going to break, but it's all about how you set it up. Goes right up and over. You can see the front end collapsing here and the droop and the rear end expanding as we come down off of that little obstacle there. But again, just a real good job by Axial setting up the steering. And here you got the up. I'm going to go back up. A little different direction. I'm going up the right side of this, but it's the same entry. Good approach here. Again, a little bit of weight in the front, and I think it'll make that front drop down and bite. But real nice job of Dwight getting up over the little obstacle here, keeping the wheel speed steady, reliable power out of that Hobbywing axe, and then coming off the backside, you're going to see that droop flex a little bit more. All right, here, first thing we're going to look at is the approach angle. Again, probably 80, 85 degrees, but it's a significant approach angle. Here you're going to get a little view of what I mean by the trucks, for my taste, is not quite heavy enough in the front. This is a line I do quite often pretty easily with my comp rigs and even my leaf trucks. Just a touch bit more weight, maybe in that bumper, maybe something down in the knuckle or axle, something to get that wheel down to bite. So I can't get that front end down, and the rear end wants to suck up underneath, of course, because it's a pretty sheer approach. So I back off, take a little slightly different line, and she bites and comes right on up over there. So we'll watch Dwight here for a second come up over this, and this is probably maybe 8-9 inches. It's higher than the truck sits naturally, so it's a pretty decent little incline. Great traction. The roots, it's tree bark, so there's great traction. And like I said, this is some place that I come and play quite often, practice. So you can see any place where the tree is worn down, that's me. So there you got Dwight up and over, and then into another little section here. Just kind of, again, tree roots. See the approach angle there, the tires grab in, and just good flex, good balance on the truck coming all the way through there. And we're gonna turn right and come through just some more knots in the roots. Again, good flex, good balance. Great job by Axial making this truck balanced. It looks like they put the portals down on the ground and built it up from there. So great job on their part. Okay, so here we spin right around that tree. You get a great look at the Pitbull pod lights shining bright in the daytime, and a really good look at the brand new Axial AR45 portal axle for their 10.3 truck. I'm going to go up on this log, and you're going to really watch that droop suspension flex and give and get a really good look at the underneath side of the truck in action here. The 45 is just a tad bit wide. Of course, it's a portal axle, but it's just a tad bit wider than the 44 axle. It's got an offset pumpkin in the front. So just really well thought out on the part of Axial. You can see a little bit of flex here. You can see it's still pretty brand new. It hadn't even been in the mud yet. But just real good balance and thought process going into this truck. And again, that droop suspension working. All right, go up and over the next obstacle. Got a license plate, or license plates on order from SRD out of Las Vegas. They actually should be here in the next day or so. I know he sent me an email, said they were in the mail. Great little plate, aluminum backing, so it's tough, durable, and then has a vinyl piece on top of it. And he can do all the states, whatever you want, for a really good cost. You see the truck here. Dwight gets hung up on the driver's side. And that's what I was talking about earlier, is part of that body hangs below the natural slider on the truck. So I'm going to have to get that trimmed up and worked out, or maybe nature will do it itself and just grind it off as I drive the truck more. But again, you're just going to watch the truck work up over a couple of roots here. Good flex, good balance, a little bit of breaking in with the tires. You see that droop drop in there in that front end while keeping the rear planted. But just great job. So we'll watch Dwight, and then we'll talk a little bit about the next obstacle. there's that droop suspension just settling right down and pulling that truck back down to earth. This is the first tree that I come to when I get to this little spot that I practice at here right close to the house. Nothing technical about it, ups and downs, overs, but it's nice and rolling, gives the suspension a chance to kind of warm up and flex. Like to get a little wheel up here and wave to the folks that are walking by. Introduce a lot of people to RC right through here because they're like, oh my God, I thought that was a dog. No, it's not actually a dog, it's a little remote control truck. But it's not the truck that you see at your Walmart or your Target. It's a higher end model or hobby grade. So I get to introduce a lot of people to the RC hobby right here at this tree. All right, this next tree, probably my favorite tree. It has one of the two most technical transitions that I like to work on, I like to practice, and I'm not always successful at it. The beginning here is pretty simple, just like the first tree. A lot of flex, warming that suspension up, letting it flow back and forth. But as we come around the tree, you're going to see get another little bit of wheel up. You can really see that droop drop out in the front as the passenger side rear tire collapses up into the body. Real good look at that, at the droop here. I run the Desert Lizard by Yeah Racing. They're enclosed. There's internal springs, very little bit of oil I run in them, but it keeps it nice and moving in there. There's no gunk, there's no leak, there's no external spring, there's no cap to rub off, none of that stuff. So we're going to come up over this ledge and we're going to go into this transition. And I'm going to climb up this transition later on, or actually earlier you saw it. But the transition that I like here is going across from this hump to the next hump. You're going to get a real good look at the approach angle here as well as the departure angle. A little bit of adjustment here gets that bumper clear. Great balance. Again, it's a spot that doesn't seem that difficult, but for me anyway, it's a decent challenge. And for this truck to come, and this was my first actual attempt at this, to make this transition, I was pretty stoked. And again, great balance here is that truck. I don't have a lot of place to side hill, but what these roots do is it throws you over one way or another, and just a real good job on this truck doing this. We're going to finish up on the sheer curve back here in my complex, but a shout out to Axial Racing, Horizon Hobby. Great job of, in my opinion, of designing this truck. They threw the portals down on the ground, built the chassis, the truck, everything around it. Just awesome job. A little more tweaking on my end to make it a comp rig for me, but hey, great job, guys.